Do you think that that fire is catching steam elsewhere in Latin America? So obviously, you know, there are many other nations, not just El Salvador, but you think that they're seeing, oh wait, this is working, rebranding of El Salvador, more people are coming and more people moving there. Do you think that this passion for freedom is spreading? Like, do you see that happening, or is it still taking time elsewhere outside of the country?
Yeah, it's definitely catching a bid, you know, in other countries in the region and around the world. Obviously in Argentina, you have a candidate who's running for president who's very Bitcoin literate, and in the ethos of Bitcoin and the idea of separating money from state, which is one of the core pieces of what makes Bitcoin so appealing, is that for the first time in history you have separated money from state and you create individual sovereignty, and this is incredibly appealing. So it's the fact that it's working here is certainly a shining example. We are the shining city on the hill. You know, we are Camelot. You know, but President Bukele is, as I say, it's John F. Kennedy meets Steve Jobs, and the results speak for themselves. This is going. The GDP here is going to double in the next 5 to 6 years, I predict, as well as being debt free by 2030.
I think obviously President Bukele is the most popular leader across Latin America, and every country wants him as their leader. But I think also, as Max mentioned, he's a genius. So everybody, like, you stand in front of the Mona Lisa and you're like, anybody could do that. I'm like, duh, like I'm a Da Vinci, right? Or everybody thinks they're Michelangelo. President Bukele is like that. He makes it look easy. But it's a lot of not only hard work, but you have to be born a leader like that, right? Like you have to be able to, the strength of character to withstand all of that global media onslaught. Like Max and I were like the only two Bitcoiners around him, and it was just like, it was like scary. Like it was like, you know, nerve-wracking for somebody like myself, because I'm not a born leader like him, right? So, you know, you're being this onslaught of like, you guys are going to fail. You know, this is humiliating. You're going to humiliate your entire country. This is a disaster. And you're like, I hope this works. I'm thinking that, but he's just like so confident and able to, you know, just lead to this point, like everything is I told you so, because he had the vision and he went there. What he always says is like, where El Salvador is going is to the place we want to be. So, you know, he wanted to be there and he took everybody along with him. And it's not going to be as easy for everybody else. Like all these people, it's like a cargo cult, how they like think, well, he adopted Bitcoin and that's going to make me popular like he was. But it takes a lot more than that. It's not just like Bitcoin is it, and like it's everything. It's all of it's the courage, it's the determination, it's the fortitude, it's the strength of character, and most people don't have that.
Now, Max, you said that you believe GDP for El Salvador double 5 years, debt-free by 2030. Obviously, the halving is coming up. Obviously, it's irrelevant in the bigger picture. El Salvador's got the momentum; they're going, but obviously, we have the halving coming up, big event. Do you think that that new cycle is going to bring so many more of the El Salvadorans that are Bitcoin curious but still trying to figure it out? Do you think that we're about to have a massive wave of people on the ground figuring this out, meeting those adoption metrics, and actually coming in as a result of the halving or any other catalyst?
Bitcoin is incredible, and it's incredibly important, which is why it means a lot that you're watching this video and you're taking the time. I do this because I believe it is a really, really important innovation that we've discovered a way to not have a single point of failure at global base layer money. See, fiat money, political currency units, and gold, all other forms of money up to this point in history have had a single point of failure. This has been the largest monetary problem in human history for the last 4,000 years. And now we have Bitcoin, and Bitcoin solves that single point of failure problem. And now, therefore, we have a new single point of failure problem, and that is, how do we custody and store that Bitcoin properly for the long term in a safe and secure way that brings peace of mind? That's why I work at the Bitcoin Advisor. If you were to be hit by a bus, does your spouse, do your kids, do your loved ones and beneficiaries know how to access your Bitcoin? Do you have a proper self-custody storage method to where there is no single point of failure? Not from yourself, not from your seed device, not from where your seed phrase is stored. Have you considered these questions? Have you gotten your UTXOs managed? Do you have jurisdictional arbitrage? Have you considered all the trust, taxes, and estate planning requirements that are associated with becoming a high net worth person? Because if you are buying Bitcoin right now, you are going to become a high net worth person. Are you prepared for the amount of Bitcoin you have to skyrocket in value 2x, 5x, 10x, or 100x eventually? That's the time horizon you should have, and so you need to be preparing today for that future. How are you going to custody your Bitcoin? How are you going to leave that Bitcoin for your future generations? Because after all, that's what we do this for, right? You're buying Bitcoin for your kids. You're buying it for your grandkids. So I highly recommend you start thinking in those long-term time periods now, because companies are coming, charities are coming, high net worth individuals are coming, and all of them are going to realize that having an allocation to a multi-sig collateral custody vault is going to be something that is of serious consideration for them. So once you understand Bitcoin is a beautiful innovation for not having a single point of failure at the base layer currency, now you have to start seriously considering, how do I have my custody stored where there is no single point of failure? Okay, if you want to learn more about that, please click the link in the description. I have dozens of pages of free educational content for you and videos. I'm happy to help in that free way. And then if you want individual help, I'm also happy to help you join the Bitcoin Advisor, where you can be an ongoing client. You can become one of my clients, and I'd be happy to help you in the years to come to make sure your Bitcoin's protected, to where no matter what, no matter if thieves or scammers or spammers or yourself or your family member or whoever, no matter whether it's due to theft or loss, misallocation, misplacement, or just other mistakes, I'm happy to help you and be that voice of reason in the coming years ahead. So click the link in the description. I'd be happy to help. Check it out. Thanks.
News cycle is going to bring so many more of the El Salvadorans that are Bitcoin curious but still trying to figure it out. Do you think that we're about to have a massive wave of people on the ground figuring this out, meeting those adoption metrics, and actually coming in as a result of the halving or any other catalyst?
Definitely. As far as adoption goes, another way I look at adoption is awareness. Awareness is the beginning of adoption. And in this country, you've got 100% awareness of Bitcoin. So that's really 100% beginning to adopt Bitcoin. And it's not about the actual use at the pupuseria, which of course is growing quite rapidly. But the fact that everyone is aware of Bitcoin and starts to think about separating money from state, starts to think about perfect money, starts to think about having absolutely scarce, perfect money, this is begins to create a lot of attraction for people around the world who are looking around, and they're not really happy. We just got a delegation from, I guess I can speak other details, we got a delegation from Santa Monica, California, who arrived, and they talked to us about the fact that they are disheartened. They look around and they see the human condition is deteriorating. What can they do to be more like El Salvador? Now, I spent a lot of years in California. I spent a lot of years in Santa Monica. I started a company in Santa Monica. So to have this delegation come from Santa Monica into El Salvador and ask for help, how can we be more like you guys? How can we restore optimism? How can we get rid of this institutionalized cynicism that has become the political sphere in the United States? So that tells you, I think, where we are in the cycle. And we're about to experience an enormous amount of influx of folks coming into the country and bringing their talent, and it's going to be a fantastic next 5-10 years.
I think it's also important to point out that El Salvador we have a very, very solid foundation, for that launch up. And it's really important to note that during the bear market has been great for us because it kept all the shitcoiners out. It made our jobs easier. And Bitcoiners don't ever give a fuck about bear markets, right? That's always when the best memes come out. So we're all having fun, right? And we're builders, so we're building. The shitcoiners run away because there's nothing to plunder. They're just looking to scam people, desperate with FOMO. But it's important to note, this conference put together by Galloy and Bitfinex, right? Blink and Bitfinex, and Galloy were the first Bitcoin Beach wallet, were some of the first builders here, building very early in 2019, 2020. Yeah, 2020. So they're building early, and then Bitfinex and Tether have been very important partners to El Salvador. So this is it's kind of like a boutique startup nation. So we get to like hand pick the people that we want here, because that we know for being around, being so old as we are, and being around forever. That's what I always tell people when like, oh man, I wish I were around in 2011. And I was like, then you'd be as old as I am. So then maybe you wouldn't want to be around. But no, the fact that we've known, like we know the people that survived all the bear markets and all the, especially the boom markets. Those are the hardest ones to survive with your integrity intact. So we have, like, we've individually bringing every one of those sort of people and companies here. So I just think that's also built such a first mover advantage. And then speaking of moats, like, it's going to be hard for any other country to replicate what we have, because President Bukele is like a 1 in 500 year sort of leader. So you have to have another one of those happen somewhere on earth. And then you have to have, the builders. And so most people in this space are plunderers, like in the crypto space are plunderers. And you see that in other places like Puerto Rico, I mentioned. They don't build anything, but we only want builders here. And I think we have a room of builders here.